Have Philippine media provided sufficient context on Wikileaks?
I think the Philippine media is fully equipped. You know, they say that Wikileaks trigger revolutions, but we've had our share. And it's the Philippine media that helped trigger the ouster of a former president.
But so what then is the biggest challenge? Verification of data? Contextualization.
The biggest challenge is to resist all any information that comes your way. Also, you know, there's competition and all that. But I think the biggest challenge then is to frame it as Bart had said. These are cables from a certain period of time.
New media will put in a whole treasure trove of information out on the table. However, you still need to rely on traditional journalism to contextualize and to make sense of all the trash that's out. The way a journalist behaves is still based on some kind of skilled and informed choice. It's still a choice.
I think it would be interesting at this point to go back to Ambassador Severino and ask him what is your take on this. We've been talking about journalism, but as a former diplomat, I'm sure you're probably seeing this from different lenses.
People will be much more careful in talking to American diplomats for fear that this diplomat's report would be exposed to the public. On the other hand, the public has the right to know what its public servants are doing.
Right.
What needs to be done is a proper balancing and the necessary confidentiality of a diplomat.
At the time you were active in the Foreign Service, WikiLeaks existed. Would this have complicated your job in foreign relations?
Certainly. For example, the impending visit of President Ramos to Malaysia, which was the first time that the Philippine president would visit Malaysia because of this Sabah problem and so on. Preparations for that visit would have been put in jeopardy if it was exposed to the public. And the problem with public exposure is that it's not targeted. Once some people know about something, then it's known by everyone. And but at the same time, you can't keep everything secret, and you shouldn't keep everything secret. And this is where the balance will have to be sought, especially in this day of WikiLeaks and so on. A lot of these political reports are the opinions of people who write the reports, not necessarily the ambassador.
I was just curious though, because the President Aquino, for example, reacted to commentary from former Ambassador Christy Kenny, and I'm sure that this would also complicate political relations, and ambassadors would have to step in and try to cure things. If you were, again, this might be hypothetical, but if you were here, how would you advise Malacanang officials and other top officials in dealing with stories that come out that may involve them?
What are these high-ranking people doing in the American ambassador's residence?
In an article I had read, the writer points out that WikiLeaks is really much more valuable to countries where there is repression, where in fact the flow of information is withheld from the people. In liberal societies, as a matter of fact, there was no really great big demand for more information of that sort from our people. I mean, it came to us, you know, everyone had a field day and was feasting on it, but I mean, there was no clamor for that kind of information, really.
Yeah.
Because in a more liberal society, there's an implicit agreement between the people and the authorities that, you know, there are some things that you can keep secret. Why are we so surprised? You know, it's just that it's so juicy.
And also because it confirms certain things.
Yes,
of course,
yes,
it's already coming from
what used to be in the
or what used to be just written by this investigative journalist.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you could take that also as now. It confirms a lot of things that we know. The U.S. involvement in the war, not just against the MILF, but against the New People's Army. Their own assessment of where that the war or the counterinsurgency program is headed, for example. It also mirrors a bit of their flawed analysis of the Philippine situation, which then would probably help us understand
The way they think.
the way they think and the way they deal or the way they craft policy towards the Philippine government.
But is it also possible that it's a case of people just getting tired of, another expose here?
I suppose if that WikiLeaks information, for example, involved President Aquino, that would have been a different matter. Because he's a new president,
Because he's sitting.
it's a new regime, he's sitting, he's incumbent.
And especially because it will have immediate impact on what is on the relationship between him and them.
Or could it be the theme, the nature of the information being presented, like it's remote from where social media consumers are, so they're not really that interested?
Yeah, that's a good point. For some people, so what? We knew this before.
Right.
But for other people, it's a revelation. But who counts more in policy making? Is it the people who knew all about these things?
I think we'll continue our discussions. We'll just briefly pause for a break.